And welcome to the Writer's Life, a place where you get the sight, sound, smells, taste of my particular writer's life, where you get the truth about the writer's life. Punch the like. No, subscribe. Take two. Welcome to the Writer's Life, the place where you get the sight, sound, smells, taste of my particular writer's life, and where you get the truth, my truth anyway. Subscribe if you haven't already. Punch the like button and tap the bell for those notifications so you don't miss out on anything. Can't miss out. And I would be remiss if I don't ask you to visit the store at www.vinzandri.com. Vinzandri.com, vinzandri.com. So did anybody watch the Tucker thing last night? I thought the interwebs would be blowing up about it today. And, not even like the independent channels talking about it. I found it entertaining and quite fascinating. This guy, even though he was busted for fraud a bunch of times between 80 and 86, this guy who claims he slept with Obama twice and did crack with him. I thought, he was well-spoken and, fairly convincing, but, does it matter? No, none of it matters, really. But I thought, towards the end of it, he's like, well, nobody believed me when I came out with it in 2004 or whenever it was. And a lot of stuff I said turned out to be true, that Obama and his wife were on their way to divorce and back in 99 when all this went down, and blah, 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 blah. And Tucker says, wow, that must have left a bad taste in your mouth. I was like, dude, what a choice of words. Wow. Did you do that on purpose? Oh my God. Anyway, but that's not what I'm here to talk about today. Slow, steady growth. Sometimes, you look at your, I'm kind of a numbers guy. Some people aren't. I'm a numbers guy in that, I'm always, keeping track of my sales and stuff like that. On the independent side of things, I can't possibly keep track of my sales with my traditional stuff. All I can do is constantly beg for a check. Be that as it may, it's the sales come through, however much you make on average per day. It grows by just a little bit more with each new intellectual property that you add to your list. No question about it. And as luck would have it, I'm prolific. Friends of mine like Troy Lambert are prolific. So he's growing his list as well. And he has a pen name. I actually have a pen name. And I'm not going to tell you what it is. And I actually have not looked in on those books recently, but I'll have to one day. Anyway, just today for shits and giggles, I looked at my lifetime sales for my independent Bear Media thing. Bear Media's actually been around for 5 years or 6. No, it's been around for 7 years. But I didn't really get it up and running till early last year. And, I'm still working on getting it going. And even though I've had a Kindle Select or Kindle KDP account since 2014, I really didn't get anything going till around, I got the Shroud key out in 2015 or 16. And then I followed up with Golden Condor a year or two later. But I only had 3 or 4 books up until around 2018, something like that. I want to say 2019. So I really, because I was still working heavily with publishers, traditional publishers, and still living off advances, and in some cases the royalties when on the freak chance I would earn that my advances out. I was freelancing up until around 7 years ago, when I lost a really good freelance account that I enjoyed, because it was a corporate buyout. And then I didn't start freelancing again at all until 2 years ago, because I had to find the right gig, something that wouldn't take away from my fiction, that would only be about an hour a day at most, and wouldn't take away from my fiction, and at the same time be lucrative. So it's tough to find that combination. In any case, I forgot to put my bling on. In any case, I looked at it today, and the numbers actually are staggering. They amaze me. My biggest seller so far has been The Shroud Key, and not because it's been up there the longest, just because it's a popular book and it was a bestseller, and it's earned me, between all the platforms, it's earned me over $40,000. Now that's one of those books where like the publishers look at it and they're like, shit, we should have acquired that. I offered The Ashes up to Thomas and Mercer, since it was a sequel rather to The Remains, right? And the editor-in-chief at the time was like, no, it's been too long. And the algorithms, like if you do the computations, the algorithms say that it won't be popular. It's been too long. And that book's made over $10,000, just as an independent book with like hardly any pushing it. I put very little into ads on it. I've run a couple, maybe it's been one BookBub, maybe. I'm not even sure how often I've tried with that. I don't do a lot of BookBubs because, they cost about $750, maybe even more now. And maybe you'll make $700 on it, so like, it's like, what's the point in a way? You're for a day or two, your rank is like, 600 or something like that. And you have bragging rights, but like the second the BookBub special is over, like you go right back into, your position normalizes. Anyway, your rank normalizes, I should say. Anyway, I digress. But what's more amazing to me are the short stories. Now, I come from like a generation where you wrote short stories and you submitted them to like the big magazines and journals. And all too often they sent you copies of the journal. Or maybe you'd make $25. Maybe they'd send you a check for $25, or they'd send you a check for $50. I think once I got a check for a story of mine called Permanence, which I turned into like a short novel, which you can get off KDP right now. It's and I'll warn you, it's more of a literary book. So don't expect like the Vince pulse pounding thriller thing. It's kind of a depressing literary book. That's where I was at. I wrote it when I was in writing school, or just before writing school. Anyway, but the most money I ever made off a short story pre-independent days was $400 to Orange County Magazine, who bought the short story Permanence. So, but looking at it now, like what I've made on some of my short stories, especially the Moonlight short stories do especially well. Some of them have made like $2,000, $1,500, $700, $300, $250. It's taken some, like it's over the course of like 3 or 4 years, but still like, and they're still earning every single month. So it just goes to show like, even short fiction sells. Now, if you look at the ranks of a lot of these short stories, you'd be like, this guy's fucking out to lunch. Like, look at the rank. It's like 1 million, or it's 900,000, or it's 800,000. Ranks don't really mean that much anymore. There's like 40 or 50 million books in the KDP, or in the Kindle Amazon Kindle library, Amazon books. And you're not competing against all those millions. You're competing against your niche. So like if I'm competing against the private eye niche, that's a lot less than 40 million books. Maybe it's a million books you're competing against or something like that. So those ranks, they don't mean that much anymore. Not like they used to, not even close. But it amazes me. I look at it, I'm like, wow, I did really well with this short story. So there's this Bradbury challenge, Ray Bradbury challenge, that my friend Harvey Stamborough runs. And not that I sign up for these things officially, like Dean Wesley Smith runs some, and there was that NaNoWriMo whatever thing that went on, and I was like, what's the point of even joining that? Because I write as fast as I can anyway, but it's got to be quality, right? You can only write as fast as the quality keeps up. If you start writing shit, then you got to slow down. But I am considering like setting up my own little personal Ray Bradbury challenge. And what is the Ray Bradbury challenge? Ray Bradbury wrote, I don't know if he did this perpetually, but at least 1 year or a couple of years, he wrote a short story per week. So that's 52 short stories. And his theory being like, it's impossible to write 52 short stories in a row and it's impossible to write a bad wait a minute. Wow, what is it? It's impossible to write all bad stories when you're writing 52 books in a row. You're going to have like a couple of beauties in there. You're going to have a couple of gems, a couple of oysters. It's impossible to write all bad short stories. My brain, she is not functioning that well today, although the writing is going well today. But it's still hot, and it's going to storm and break the heat. Can't wait for it. So I'm thinking about like, I'm finishing up yet another novel. I've got like 5 novels coming out or whatever. So like, can I handle a short story week? Absolutely. I think I'm going to start in on that. And that'll quickly bring me up to well over 200 products in my library. And maybe I can hit 250 intellectual products in my magic bakery by this time next year, if not more. Sounds interesting, doesn't it? And I could do this while still writing novels and freelancing. Sounds very interesting. I think I'm going to try it. All right, you guys, that's all I got. Tomorrow, don't forget tomorrow, my guest at 4:30 will be none other than Ernest Hemingway's grandson, who's also a terrific writer, a terrific guy. We've become friends. And he's the only guy I know who consistently runs with the bulls. So he's a little. No, he's not. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He knows what to do. I was like, John, I'm like, I don't know if I could do that. I'm like, I'm so slow, even though I jog every day. Like he's like, dude, you just run for like 7 seconds and then you get the hell out. I was like, oh, I could probably handle that. Whatever. Knowing me, I'd still like take a gore right up the ass and through my mouth. So who knows? Anyway, we'll talk about that tomorrow. So join us at 4:30. Bring a cocktail because it's happy hour. Happy hour with Hemingway. Tomorrow, 4:30. It'll be Facebook Live, by the way. It's going to be Facebook Live, and then I'm going to transfer it to YouTube. So if you missed the Facebook Live, it'll be on YouTube later that evening, God willing. I'm also going to try to put it on Twitter. Can you do that? Or X? Can you do that? Or do you have to be like, have a certain amount of subscribers to do that? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to post it everywhere I can. So we'll see. All right, you guys. I will catch you guys tomorrow, God willing. Ciao, ciao.